Welcome, UC Bearcat fans, to UC Bearcats on the Prowl, part of the Grueling Truth Radio Network. I'm James Ernest, along with Mark Fightmaster. Mark, what have the Bearcats been up to?
Well, last week they went up to the Big House, and they gave Michigan a little bit better game than anybody expected. I mean, they ended up losing 36-14. But I think last week, as we were talking, the final score, I don't look at that as being a big deal. Shoot, James, they got down 14-0 right away, and they were able to come back and get it to 14-10. And I mean, they had all the fans wearing yellow and blue in the Big House booing Michigan at one point when they shanked that punt in the early third quarter, I believe.
Yep.
And what was it, like a 7-yard punt, and we had the ball starting on Michigan's 45. The fans were a little restless, and I think the UC fans were a little bit excited. But then, that's right about the point that Michigan decided, okay, it's time to start playing around. It's time to get serious. They shut them down, ended up scoring a touchdown, I believe, on the ensuing possession, and then it all went downhill from there. But, we talked last week. I wanted to see what was going to happen if the team got down. And they did. They got down, but then they kept going. They fought instead of folding the tent. So it was a good performance. It's a performance that UC fans should be proud of, because it's not something that would have happened last year. So, it was a loss. We're 1-1, but I think that loss showed us a lot about the team.
I agree with you 100%. They had the 2 touchdowns that the offense gave up as opposed to the defense giving it up. So you got to factor that in points-wise and all. So the defense, they played tough. They kept them in the game.
Yeah, it was a good performance, And after last week, looking at the stats now, UC has the 31st ranked passing defense in college football, giving up 155 yards per game. That's pretty good, considering, Michigan is a team that will try to throw it around. And so they did pretty well against them. So it was an excellent defensive performance.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, the team's got some good stuff going. It's got Mike Boone, who's rushed for 144 yards in the season. Mm-hmm. And like you were saying, the defense, they're stepping it up with Clements has been having pretty good games. He's at 22 tackles. So they got some good things there. And a couple of guys that forced fumbles. Young's forced a – was it Young? Yeah, it was Young. Young forced a fumble, and Gilbert forced a fumble. So, they got some things that are going in the right direction.
Yeah, they do. The trajectory of this team is definitely pointing upward. They are on the right path. So I think it's something that we should be encouraged by, and hopefully we'll see that come to fruition this week. When they head up to Miami.
Mm-hmm. Just like one of the Miami alums, Ben Roethlisberger, his record in games at Cleveland and at Cincinnati is, unfortunately, he's probably had more wins than pretty much any of our quarterbacks, and definitely more than any of Cleveland's quarterbacks in Cleveland, which is a scary stat. But it's kind of the same thing with UC quarterbacks up in Miami, Ohio. Even though Miami always gives them one heck of a good game. Seriously, I've been the last 5-6 years, and I haven't seen one game where I'm going, UC's killing them. No, it's always UC's biting their nails against these guys.
Yep.
And after them finishing, 6 in a row at the end of the year, Miami, it's going to be tough up there in Yager Stadium.
Right, it is. It's going to be tough. Well, I think we talked about this last year when UC went to play Miami. Miami always plays them hard. It's a rivalry game. They see it as that, and so they always play very tough against UC. They always play a good game. So, and obviously the odds makers expect that this week. They've put UC as a 5.5-point dog on the road against Miami.
Yeah.
So, So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be a good game. Always is a good game when they play. Like you said, it's always close. And so I guess the odds makers are just thinking that the home field advantage is going to be enough for Miami this year. We shall see.
I agree. I mean, you're right. Chuck Martin's got them going in the right direction. They've done a lot of better things, but still, it's hard to say that Miami could beat them. I mean, UC's done so well up there, and unfortunately, the 24,000 that they can fit into that stadium, 24, 25, somewhere in that area, you don't usually see them on game day. So it's kind of hard to think that UC is going to lose to them after such a good performance at Michigan.
Right. The one caution is that they let down a little bit after that game.
That's true.
That's something we got to watch for.
Yeah, since Miami hasn't had the victory bell in, a decade, it would mean more to them than, so I know what you mean. And speaking of decades, over a decade, they re-signed that deal to keep the rivalry going. I mean, it's one of the longest rivalries in college football, and now it's scheduled to go till 2029. Yeah,
and some of those games are going to be at Paul Brown Stadium. So
I believe I've heard next year might be there, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'll be good. I mean, will they fill it? Probably not. But, I mean, they're going to have plenty of people there, and it'll be a great atmosphere. I went back when Ohio State played UC at Paul Brown Stadium a few years back. That was a heck of an atmosphere. Now, granted, it was a lot more crowded than it's going to be when UC plays Miami, but still, it's a good place. It's a good place to watch a game. So I think it'll do them well to play there. Give them a lot of notoriety.
I agree with you. I mean, the big thing is, like you said, with there, of course, you had a lot of people wearing gray, unfortunately, that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing with that is it was a one-game that season kind of thing. Because unfortunately, even though they did actually have a good season that year, I want to say it was like Tuberville's first season, and they played all games at Paul Brown that year that were home. It just, unfortunately, with it being an all-season thing, it wasn't special. It became But you're right, with one game every now and again at Paul Brown, I think that is going to be huge,
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. I was fighting a little cough here. I think it's good for them. And plus, it keeps the rivalry going. They know they're going to be playing each other again over a series of years. So, it's good for both sides. And when the game goes to UC or when the game goes to Miami, they're used to that. They know what to expect. It's going to be good. I think extending the games was the right move, because we talked about how Miami last year, and you mentioned it earlier, finished the season 6-0, finished on a good run. Their team is going in the right direction, and UC is headed in the right direction. So I think this could end up being a great rivalry.
Exactly. I mean, Miami only lost by 7 last year, even though UC has won those 11 straight. Overall in the series, I mean, they played 122 times, and Miami, crazy enough, is actually winning it, which baffled the heck out of me because we're just so used to, recent history. But, Miami has actually got 4 games on UC. It's 59, 55, and then 7 ties, which –
7 ties.
Yeah, that's –
yeah. Oh, man, those wins come from the 70s and 80s, and the 90s. There's 3 decades right there. They probably got a lot of their wins with all the great coaches they had, and then, the Roethlisberger era and all that. So, UC's been able to make you up a little bit here. So hopefully the trend continues this weekend.
Do you feel just like last weekend with Luke being an Ohio State guy, just or the state of Cincinnati kind of guy as he's turning himself into, that it's going to mean more being a native from the area, the fact that the local rivalry, that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, I think so. And something Urban Meyer does is he really plays up the rivalry games. And this is a rivalry game. On top of that, this is in Fickell's backyard recruiting-wise. He wants to be able to recruit those kids that may go to Miami. and get some of them. So he's going to take this. This is big time for him. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays this up as possibly the biggest game of their season. Not just to this point, but in general, unless they get into a bowl game, because it's local, man. It's 45 miles up the road, if that. I'm not great with directions and geography, but it's not that far away. They're recruiting the same kids. He wants to be able to go into a kid's house and say, hey, I see Miami's recruiting. You remember we did beat them this year.
Exactly. Because
so.
Chuck Martin, you're right. I mean, with him being a former Brian Kelly guy, is going to hit the same spot. So that does make a lot of sense. I mean, hopefully the Big Six thing will actually catch on, and they'll be able to point to that as well. But right now, we can't hold our breath on that yet.
Yeah, exactly. So we got to get what we can recruiting wise. We got to get every little edge that we can get. So what do you feel is something they're going to focus on? Do you feel UC's going to try to expand the passing game, or do you feel they're going to stick with the run? Well, you know what? The first thing is they got to stop Miami. Miami has a good offense. Miami's passing offense right now is ranked in 38th or so. So right about the same place that UC's passing defense is ranked. The place where they're really going to have to make up some ground is their rush defense. So actually, hold on a second. Let me see. Okay, I'm sorry. Passing wise, Miami is ranked 74th in the country. I apologize. I looked at the wrong stat there. So, but they're averaging 220 yards a game. So UC is going to have to step it up there. And now it's going to get to the point where teams are going to say, okay, we may not be able to throw against them as much because they have a very upperclassman heavy backfield. They're very talented. So now we have to go ground game against them. So we're going to see what the big men up front can do. They're going to have to stop the top receiver for Miami. His name is James Gardner, and he's got 13. Yeah, he's got 13 receptions on the year thus far. I mean, that's 2 games, 13 receptions. Yeah, 228, and he's got 2 touchdowns. So he's going to have to be their focus. And then they also have to watch out for this Ryan Smith kid and Jared Murphy. They got 3 good receivers, really good receivers. So they're going to be tested. And like we said, they did a good job against Michigan. So let's see what they can do against Miami. As far as
the dual threat, I mean, heck, he's even run the ball as well as Boone has.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So they're going to have to be it's going to have to be a concerted defensive effort. They're really going to have to make the most of what they can. Now, offensively, Miami's defense isn't bad. Miami's defense ranks right behind UC in rushing or in passing defense. I think they're 38th. I was looking at that before when I said it was their offense. It's their defense. So they rank 38th in defense, passing wise. But rushing, they're the 46th ranked. They're only giving up about 110 yards a game on the ground. Now, they have gone against Marshall, and they've gone against Austin Peay, and a majority of those yards came against Marshall. Miami did a good job shutting down Austin Peay, only gave 10 points, only gave up 10 points. I mean, so UC is going to have to pick an identity and go with it, and I honestly think, I hate making guesses like this, but I would have to say that they're probably going to try and establish themselves on the ground. Miami is a good offense. I wouldn't consider them super high powered, but they do a good job. And you want to control the clock against an offense like that. So you want to keep your defense off the field as much as possible. So the best way to do that is the ground game and short passing.
Very true. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of times, they'll come out there and start trying to throw it deep, but they keep the focus and stay moving the ball. It could make it rough on UC.
Yeah, it really could because, we saw it this past weekend when the Bengals played. They couldn't stop the run, and Baltimore gets up early, and then they go on those long drives that even sometimes they didn't result in points. But they controlled the clock, and, pretty soon you're looking at a rather large deficit and very little time to get back in the game. So My guess is, or if it were me, I would try to control the clock by controlling the run game. So.
Very true. Actually, an interesting fact I just found out the other day that UC actually has 4 players that have family that are currently in the NFL.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was surprised, especially when I found out one of them was the father. No, actually 3 of them are. Oh, that was in the NFL. Okay.
That were in the NFL.
Currently, yeah, I thought they meant currently in the NFL. I'm like, how are college football players, their dad, still in the NFL? That didn't make a lick of sense. Okay. Now,
yeah, that'd be a nice long career.
Yeah, like, dang. What is it? They're all related to kickers? No.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, no, it was Braxton Neal's father was on the Bengals from 81 to 88. R.J. Potts was on Miami, Baltimore, Indy, shoot from the 90s. And then Stevens, his father, was on a couple teams. Actually, the only one that actually does have a current one is Kobe, not Kobe Bryant with a K, but C-O-B-Y Bryant. His brother is still in the league, and I think he's currently in Cleveland. But yeah, I was going to say when I was reading that, I was like, how is her dad still in the dang? Yeah, I know. Like the Matthews family actually accomplished that feat because I think there were 3 of them or something, and the one played in the Oilers and just did not retire. I mean, he played for So
yeah, I remember them. Yeah, they were good players.
Oh gosh, yeah, they actually had a book not too long ago come out. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get them on the show about the book, but I remember reading about that, thinking, hey, that would be a pretty neat story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be cool.
Yeah. So what's your predictions?
It's going to be close. I think UC pulls it out by a field goal late in the game, maybe not quite at the gun, but a late field goal. I'm looking at a 24-21 kind of victory there for UC.
Cool. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's going to be another one of those close games. Like you said, the offense will do better, but they're not going to go crazy and start lighting it up. So, yeah, I agree with you. Somewhere, actually, yeah, I think you got it spot on there, 24-21. I mean, that sounds about right. Maybe more field goal-esque things. So, 18, 20, 23, 22, something. But something right around what you're saying. I agree with 100%. Because, I mean, it's going to be close. Miami's going to do a great job. Obviously, their head coach is, turning around the program and doing some great things, Chuck Martin. But it's just UC's got the talent.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Hopefully the talent wins out. We'll see.
Excellent. Let's see. And then hopefully UC should be releasing their basketball schedule soon. I know they are playing Xavier on December 2nd. It's a Saturday.
Yeah, a little bit earlier, but that'll be fun. It's crosstown shootout. Always a good time.
Oh, definitely can't go wrong with that. I mean, both teams are so talented. Of course, this year it'll be back at Xavier because UC's playing over at NKU this year, and they just played at UC last year for the last time at the old Fifth Third. So it'll be interesting to see how the new Fifth Third goes, and it'll be interesting to see if who will be coming to town, so we'll get to watch because I already been checking out Xavier's schedule. They've been released. Miami released theirs, and KU released theirs. But I guess with UC, having to deal with, playing on the road the whole season, it takes a little more time.
Yeah, logistically, yeah.
Exactly. So I can imagine that's probably all that is because I'm looking forward to seeing what that schedule is going to be like. Because I know, unfortunately, NKU isn't playing anybody fancy at home, but Xavier's got a couple really nice ones. They're playing Baylor at home. I'm wanting to check that out. And then I forget some of the other ones. But it was mostly the Baylor was the main one that I was wanting to check out. And, of course, UC.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely. As always, any final thoughts?
No, just watch for a tough game this weekend. Like you said earlier, it's Miami. It's a rivalry. They always play tough. So, but it'll be a fun one to watch. I think it'll be one of those fun games, hard nosed, played real well. So
exactly, I agree with you. Competitive, high, not high, but decent scoring. There'll be some offense, some defense, a little bit of everything, something for everybody. Because sometimes, they get in those games where it's just stale. But I think this, like you said, is going to be an exciting game. Good stuff going on. So for Mark Fightmaster and James Ernest, this was UC Bearcats on the Prowl.